This is our first stream together.
Oh,
We're kind of working out the kinks. Yeah, if anyone's watching, thanks for joining in. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
We're mostly going to be reviewing debates. I don't know what else we would probably do, like have guests on, definitely to talk about conservative issues or
that would be ideal. If that's what I was saying, the TikTok thing. So, you know, we do our TikTok lives semi-regularly. Trying to get away from that particular platform just because,
for sure,
it's
they ban us all the time.
Say
legitimately, what? They ban us all the time.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a problem. The ease with which our streams have been interrupted with bans.
Which we piss off conservatives all the time, and the free speech warriors that they are.
Yeah, I know, they go to punish us.
Immediately talk to TikTok, and they don't even review the content. They just...
what's the most effective way to convince people that Biden is not responsible for inflation without getting super into the weeds?
That's a good question.
I think the biggest one is the fact that inflation is a global phenomenon. So
I was just about to say the same thing. Yeah, you look at other countries.
No, you weren't. He was not.
I was.
He was going to come up with something different. He's too smart for that.
True.
The thing I would have in your back pocket, Roy or Paul, I can't read. I'm illiterate. The thing I would have in your back pocket is the fact that other countries are experiencing inflation as well, comparable or even higher. So the United Kingdom, Britain, they're experiencing inflation, which is at least 2 percentage points higher than ours. So we're a little less than 8, and knock on wood, we are declining. They have inflation around 10%, and they have been led by conservative prime ministers for the past 6 years. So not only is it not a Biden thing, it's not even a liberal thing. It's a global phenomenon under conservative leaders as well. And the United Kingdom is a G7 advanced economy, just like us. Obviously not as advanced as we are. We're the greatest economy on the planet. But high inflation has hit Germany. It's hit the United Kingdom. It's hit most advanced nations, Canada and others as well. So
also understanding where the root of this cause is, most economists agree that the supply chain shock that occurred mostly came from COVID and the COVID reaction. So understanding how sort of, I mean, we see how the supply chain just sort of changed and got warped so effectively, and we're still seeing knock-on effects to this day. And that's not due to any specific administration. That's just going to happen.
No, and I mean, in the interest of good faith, I think that Stax and I would both cop to the fact that there are some credible economic analyses which suggest that President Biden's American Rescue Plan contributed a couple of percentage points to inflation because it was a form of economic stimulus. But you could also make the case for the 2 COVID stimulus bills that passed under President Trump. Because remember, there are 3 total, right? There was the American Heroes Act, the CARES Act, both of which were under Trump, and combined, they were twice as expensive as the American Rescue Plan under Biden. So inflation is not a Democrat phenomenon. It's not a domestic phenomenon. It is something that liberal and conservative, progressive and libertarian, it's a global phenomenon encountered by political systems of all persuasions. So I think if you just keep the UK thing in your back pocket, the 10% inflation of the UK from conservative prime ministers, that's going to be pretty hard for conservatives to debunk.
100% agree.
I'm glad you agree. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I'm here for. All right. Because Rum1n8's like, don't you think that having someone who disagrees with you would make for more interesting content? And he said, no, I kind of want to get jerked off just all day on stream.
And I wasn't even talking about streaming, to be quite honest with you.
True.
Like, I think you misinterpreted my text. I did.
I was talking about streaming. That's on me. Sexting gets weird between us, honestly.
I mean, we had our first fight on Twitter, this whole like telenovela, epic drama. It was cute. I mean, but like, look, we're back together.
Little thing that we had together.
Yeah. See, what we are hoping for eventually is, I mean, like right now we have a commanding audience of 2 people. The goal is to expand it to a legion of like 3 or 4.
3 people. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
No more than 4.
I feel like we might be able to stretch our resources to 5, but we're capping it there. All right.
I don't know, man. I mean, obviously it's going to have to be like a semi-regular thing. And that's the other thing. I'm determined, I guess, to get back into streaming, even though it's kind of on the fence, because I really enjoyed, like, TikTok is just so low effort, right? Like it's so low effort.
Well, for you, I mean, I put a lot of effort into it, and I mean, we can look at the results. I have more followers than him.
He's got, like, he's lapped me. It's a little bit, it's a little bit troubling. I pray every day that he gets banned. I've been, if you wonder why you have so many, like, flags on your account, it's actually, you know what? Let's just come out and say this. I reported you on our last TikTok live where you got banned. It was me. I reported you.
I just got a video force taken down.
Really?
Yeah. Do you get that a lot? How many videos?
It's happened to me twice. It's happened to me twice. One, I was fairly aggressive. Okay, the first time it happened was I was responding to a comment left for me in a video, and I was pretty mean.
The same thing happened to me right now, yeah.
And then the second one was, it was about where I was calling out the Republican Party for its predilection towards sex crimes. You know, like that seems like Republicans and conservatives are more likely than Democrats and liberals to be indicted or convicted of sex crimes. So that got taken down. Let's see what the chat says. My beautiful logo is blocked.
They're asking about the Inflation Reduction Act and how it reduces inflation. That is a good question. What I will say, cards on the table, it doesn't just reduce inflation. There's a lot going on in that bill. The two main things, other than just inflation reduction, which we can get into, which I'd like to get into, I'll turn it over after that. But some of the things that are just involved in that bill aren't just about inflation. That's just kind of like classic political bills. You talk about one thing and then you throw a bunch of things in. It's one of the most progressive climate bills that honestly worldwide. It does a lot about, like, subsidizing subsidizing solar and, like, other clean energies. That's, like, a big provision in it. They also have things on healthcare where they allow Medicare to negotiate prices, which is a big thing for healthcare.
Insulin at $35.
Yeah, so there's a lot going in that bill. It's not just inflation reduction. That's just kind of the nature of these large, all-encompassing bills. There's a lot of provisions get thrown in. But how does it reduce inflation?
So you got to remember that the Inflation Reduction Act, its effects are supposed to be spread across 10 years, right? So it will increase revenue by, I think it was like a 15% corporate minimum, like a minimum corporate tax, if I remember correctly, 15%. It was going to close tax hole loopholes that the rich exploit. It was going to expand and
15,000 IRS agents as well.
I thought it was 87,000 IRS agents. Yeah, I think
very possible.
Yeah, pretty sure it's 87,000.
Absolutely off on this.
Yeah, I think it's 87,000 IRS agents, so that the government can make sure it gets the revenue from taxes to which it's entitled. I'm sorry?
You're correct.
Thank you. So you have, like, all these increased, like, revenue streams over 10 years, and then over 10 years it will also reinvest that revenue into, like, the climate initiative. I think it was like over 300 billion across 10 years for addressing climate change. One of the big revenue streams coming in, like Stax said, is it would allow the government to negotiate prices for pharmaceuticals, which will be a colossal advantage towards saving money and therefore getting it back to the government. And the projections were from the CBO, if I remember correctly, the Congressional Budget Office, is that it would reduce the deficit by, I think it was almost 300 billion over 10 years. Okay, so I guess the prevailing theory is it will reduce inflation by, yes, increasing revenue, but also reallocating it accordingly, and it will be taking in more than it spends across a period of 10 years. But to really break down the nuts and bolts of it, I feel like we'd need somebody like a Boy in here.
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely not, like, I was way more focused on the climate side of things. That's definitely, like, my specific, what I care about a lot.
You don't own the climate. The climate's not yours.
True.
I'm saying he's so, like, he's so possessive and
I am
really selfish.
I really don't let him get out, honestly.
My name is Stax, and I own the climate. Weather is mine.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. Listen, the environment is, as Jordan Peterson said, climate is basically everything. So that's my goal in life.
Climate is everything. Like, if climate is everything, then everything is climate. And like, how do you account for your variables in the multivariate analysis? There, you can't have a study that takes into consideration infinite variables, Staxiom. So if climate is everything, I mean, don't you know?
That's, I don't know.
That was an exceptional impression because I started off with such low expectations.
Yeah, as well you should.
Like, it was impressive, and then I listened more, and you continued, and I was like, actually, this isn't that good of an impression, and it like immediately fell down.
Well, I mean, the fact that you were briefly pleased.
I was. You got to learn how to toe the line. Find the line for when you feel like you've got your audience captivated, and then cut. And that's a big thing. Is you got to.
If climate is everything, well, we have to face the dragon in our souls. You know, the line between order and chaos in this multivariate analysis.
I don't know. I'm doing like
no. You're making an interesting point, which is there's two ways that you can do a joke. No. There's two things. There's two ways that you can tell a joke. Okay, the first is understand where the line is and then cut it and just have a good time. The second one is you continue the joke as long as humanly possible until it becomes so not funny that it is actually
funny. It's like the Norm Macdonald approach to
comedy. Exactly.
I'm basically Norm Macdonald. I'm actually funnier.
Yeah.
There's a reason that he's no longer with us because he was replaced
by
in the grand
you?
scheme of things, by me.
So were you not funny before his death?
Anyway, so do you think Joe Biden has mental decline? I like his policies mostly, but I've seen so many clips from conservatives that make it seem like he's a little cuckoo. I think he's just old. He turned 80 yesterday.
Yeah, there's a lot of criticisms that I don't accept about Joe Biden. The one of him being old, and also just our government in general being way too old, is very fair. I mean, we could think of the biggest presidential candidates. The last four were Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden. All of those people are like over 70.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton is basically, you know, she's the fresh-faced baby of the group at a 75, you know. Yeah.
It's a little ridiculous. So I totally understand feeling like he's, you know, probably old, going through a little bit of dementia, but at the end of the day, he's not my grandpa, so I'm not going to cry if he forgets my name. Is he passing the right policies or not? That's what I really care about at the end of the day. And if he's just a little puppet for the people behind him, he put the right people behind him. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I don't think it's, I see no evidence that it is dementia. I guess I couldn't rule it out. I think it's just cognitive decline associated with age. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Paul, I almost called you Roy again. I apologize, Paul, that Donald Trump is 3 to 4 years younger than President Biden. I mean, they are peers, right? They would have gone to high school together. But Biden would have had better grades by far. So, and if you look at Trump, if you compare interviews that he had, like anytime he sat down with Oprah Winfrey or whoever else 20 years ago, he was a much more fluid and sophisticated speaker than he is today. Like, you know, now Trump does the, you know, bigly and it's tremendous. It's like he uses these like fill words because he clearly struggles to speak eloquently. That was not the case 10, 15, 20 years ago. Same thing with Biden. Biden, you compare his 2012 vice presidential debate performance against Paul Ryan. Now, Stax was like 3 when that happened, but to those of us who are of drinking age, we remember that. We remember that very well. And Paul Ryan is no dummy. I mean, he you know, I know he did a lot of P90X and CrossFit, but he was also a, you know, relatively intelligent and relatively sophisticated political operator. And Biden lapped him in the debate. So it's just age as far as I'm concerned. And to Stax's point, as long as he is not like a threat, like his, like whatever cognitive decline he's experiencing is not dangerous to the U.S., and I see no evidence that it is. As long as he puts the right people in place to help him make decisions, like Ron Klain and Pete Buttigieg, and you know, he's got a very competent cabinet. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure not only does he have a highly competent cabinet, it has like one of the longest tenures. The fact that they're 2 years in and no resignations or firings. I'm like,
I mean, especially after Trump's like that was the most like in and out administration. Yeah, come on, you're pointing incorrectly. No, but I don't know if you've ever seen those like pictures where it shows everyone who stepped in and out of Trump's cabinet, and it's like legitimately like 40 people over.
Dude, it was a turnstile. Can you imagine? Like,
it's insane.
It's not even a cabinet meeting at that point. It's more like a cupboard meeting.
100%. Nice, got him.
Thank you.
I'd stick with the impressions, buddy.
Listen, you're really not in a position to tell me.
There you go.
I feel like I'm more like Kermit.
Kermit, you're doing Kermit, which they pretty similar enough to.
I feel like Kermit's more thoughtful, you know, than Dr. P.
He's got some beautiful thoughts. Paul also asked, he's been firing on all cylinders and asking questions.
I like that.
Thank you,
Paul, for engagement.
I appreciate you, Paul. Thank you for.
Paul's probably a bot.
Only person here. Appreciate you.
Paul's probably a bot working for Putin, but at least
very possible. Honestly, I asked him to tell you to add in the comments that my impression was way better than you, and then he didn't follow through. So, I mean, how good of a...
No, then I like Paul too. He's not a bot. He's a free thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, Paul. It's exactly what a bot would say.
Why do you answer now and not when I needed you? When I needed you the most? How do you argue with people scared of nuclear threats from Russia? I brought up the whole appeasement argument, but I find it hard to convince somebody when they are so scared of Armageddon. That is a good question. I have been talking with a lot of people who are very freaked out about Armageddon, about World War III. And I think almost all of their arguments, I do have, some may say unwarranted, but I do think that we can have reasonable trust in our leaders not doing stupid things at this point. After Ukraine got invaded, we made it really clear that we weren't doing no-fly zones. We weren't going to trigger Article 5. We weren't going to have boots on the ground in Ukraine. We were really careful about making sure that war didn't progress at a specific point, and we were going to do more soft power strategies like sanctions on the country, which I think is a great idea. That's how you deal with like global threats, essentially annexing neighboring countries, like especially when there's such a world power. So anything else?
No, here's what I say. Listen, I don't think there's any reason to fear Armageddon. Listen, a lot of people will knock the movie because it's not, was not critically acclaimed, but I liked it. It had Bruce Willis, Liv Tyler, Billy Bob Thornton, and a bunch of others as well. Ben Affleck.
I don't know if I saw this movie, but it looks terrifying.
You never saw Armageddon? Of course not.
I don't think so. Is this the one where Bruce Willis goes to the moon?
He doesn't go to the moon, Stax.
There's a lot of movies.
Asteroid to drill a bomb into an asteroid that's about 50 times the size of Texas.
I haven't seen this movie, but I have seen Ben Affleck's commentary on this movie where he makes fun of the director for saying that apparently astronauts can't learn how to drill, but drillers can learn how to be astronauts. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have not seen that, but the director is Michael Bay, so I would not be surprised. It's
so
definitely
funny.
Style over substance. Has a phenomenal soundtrack featuring Aerosmith. I know you've heard that song. I don't want to.
It's got some great cast.
Yeah, at 100%. It's got Steve Buscemi. I think it's Steve Buscemi. I might be making it up. Yeah, Steve Buscemi, Owen Wilson. Wow.
Stacked.
I don't know. I can't do that.
That was better. That's
you like that? Okay. Well,
somewhere in between that and Kermit the Frog lies Jordan Peterson.
Well, thank you. So Jordan Peterson is Owen Wilson and Kermit the Flog. Kermit the Flog's love child. No, I think Stax covered it. I mean, scary when you're dealing with nuclear powers, right? This was always
for sure
in the car. I mean, we've actually, people tend to forget it because we have the attention span of goldfishes, and it was 50 years ago, but we have come close to nuclear Armageddon before. Cuban Missile Crisis and and others as well. The good news is I think most people don't want nuclear Armageddon. So even if you got like a deranged leader to issue an order, it still has to be executed by people who probably don't want to die. And so, as Dylan Burns often says, people in that position do not want to give orders, especially if they're authoritarian, when there's an increased likelihood that those orders will be ignored. And I think that an order to fire a nuke would be the order that has the highest likelihood of being ignored. So that's probably the least likely one that a person would, issue. So
yeah, I haven't verified any of this, but I like the sentiment. So I'm going to preach this fact and then just get across that sentiment, which is the best, the best that I can do. Basically, I heard this story where they got a notification that like nukes were incoming, and this was back in like the Cold War. This is some like Russian thing. I read this on a Reddit post like 2 years ago. So all of this is highly verified. You can absolutely trust that what I'm saying 100%. Is 100% accurate. Yeah. Basically, they got a notification that a nuke was coming in, and they were supposed to fire back, but they didn't, believing that their enemies aren't that stupid. And it turns out it was a false flag, a false alarm. So, I think that story might not be true, but I think that sentiment is that we do believe that we don't want to just completely blow ourselves back to the Stone Age. I think that that's a fairly accurate statement that we can make about humans.
I'm just laughing here because I read this thing on Reddit. No, look.
Was that something in your throat, or were you doing another Jordan Peterson
impression? No, that was, I don't know why I just slipped into Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is not in my throat, okay? I don't know what the hell that's supposed to mean. What sort of erotic fan fiction you're cooking up right now?
Beautiful. Sorry, this person just responded that it's a real story. So I appreciate you.
Damn it.
Thank you for verifying for me.
Paul, come on, man.
Stanislav Petrov.
I shouldn't have done
That's good to know.
Here I was quoting
I could have looked it up at any point, but yeah.
That's why we need to hit it big. If we hit it big, we can have a producer like Pac-Man and Tim Pool and Joe Rogan and
just like verify some information on the back.
100%. Be like, excuse me,
Paul, we'll get you in.
Yeah.
You stay with us. We'll be here every Monday. You be our little fact checker. Because apparently we can't check facts on our own.
No, we're too busy being delightfully charming and roasting each other to worry about facts. I mean,
exactly.
This guy.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, and I hope that you did, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe. Also, my link tree is in the description below, so if you have a sec, go ahead and share the love on all my social media accounts. Also, if you want to express an opinion, eternal devotion, or undying contempt, go ahead and leave a comment because we're always looking for feedback. And on that note, I look forward to pondering politics and pop culture again with you very soon.